All right, hey freaks, it's JJ. Welcome to my channel today. I'm so stoked because I have Kristen on the channel. Kristen, as I have followed her Instagram for a very long time, welcome. And she also has a YouTube channel, which I discovered recently. So I thought it would be great to have her come on my channel and just do a little metal chat. So hi, Kristen, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So to start off, I just wanted to make sure everyone watching kind of knows about, what you do and what you do on your YouTube channel and all of your awesome designs and creations.
I mostly do a lot of painting and sewing. I've been doing both of these for many, many years. I think I've been drawing and painting as long as I can remember. And I actually have my bachelor's in fine art, painting, and printmaking. And probably what I post and create the most of is sewing projects, especially I do a lot of reconstructed band t-shirts. I really like doing it because it's a fun way to support the artists. And I was always disappointed when I was younger because, whenever you went to get a band t-shirt as a girl or someone who's femme presenting, you always got stuck with a simple baby doll that always just had like the band logo. Maybe if you were lucky, you got a tank top. So I started picking up sewing. My mom was a seamstress as well and still is. And so I got a lot of tips from her. And then my best friend, who also happens to run a sewing business that specializes in band tees, her name is Julia and her brand is Raunchy Gear. We were roommates and we both bought the same sewing machines and just picked that up together and kind of learned off each other.
Awesome. Yeah, I love what you're saying about how it's such a it's a travesty that there's like not good female band merch these days. I mean, it's getting a little bit better. I'll ask about your opinion on like the state of band merch in a moment. But like yeah, I was talking about in one of my videos how like just complaining basically about how like female band merch, it's like almost just it sucks, like you said, like it's just the logo, or they just like tone down the goriness of the cool designs that they have for the men's t-shirts,
Hmm.
and or like you're stuck buying like a 2X because they're sold out of smalls.
Oh yeah, that's the worst. But once you pick up sewing, then it's really easy to be like, oh, okay, well that's extra fabric. I can make a dress out of it instead.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I haven't done any of that. I mean, I've cut up some like just haphazardly, and some of them turned out really, I just had to like trash it because my cutting skills aren't always up to par. um but yeah, I wanted to, I'll make sure you share your Etsy store too, and I'll put that down in the description of the video. But yeah, I was browsing through your Etsy store, and you have some really awesome designs that people can buy.
Thank you.
I might have to shop there momentarily after this video, but
I
um,
always appreciate the support.
yeah, they're awesome. And like just the amount of time, I think some people would probably be like, well, why would you do videos on, the tutorial if you're just going to sell it? But then you watch the video and you're like, oh my God, this is a lot of work. I'm not going to do any of this.
Yeah, some of the tutorials are a little bit easier than others. I try to throw a couple on there where it's like, where all you really need is scissors and maybe you do one little stitch, if that. Or I even have one where it's no sewing or cutting, it's just bleach and tie dye. So, even if
Yeah.
you kind of like more masculine styles, you could kind of zazz up your wardrobe a little bit with that. But I like doing that because some people will take the effort to go and do it, and then other people still shop, and it's fun to watch the process. And I really like kind of supporting a creative community. Um, it's not competition. Like it takes so much time to make these that if somebody's going to take an idea that I'm already doing and they're going to take hours to make it, it's not hurting my business at all. And I
Exactly.
mean, if I get enough subs on my YouTube, then eventually you can monetize your content. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I was watching one of the ones that was, I think, the bleach one you're talking about. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's more my experience level is just some bleach and or just some scissors. And like, I mean, I sew like patches on my battle vest and stuff, but that's pretty much the extent of it. My mom is a big sewer too, but I did not do any of the things she told me when we were kids as far as like learning to sew or anything like that. But
Mhm.
I mean, your channel is cool too because it's not just like clothing stuff. It's like ornaments and like glassware, which is really awesome. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, are you planning any like wintry? I know it's like it's what is it, April right now? But like
I
I'm
know, and I'm
already
in
ready for
California,
Christmas.
so it's already getting warm. But I always run cold anyways. But yeah, I do think that I probably want to do a few videos where it's something like like making like a hooded cloak or something super dramatic like that, because I love
Awesome.
things that are just that extra where I feel like I'm in like a Demu Borgir music video
Yeah.
or something.
Exactly. Somewhere with snow. Yeah. Awesome, awesome. And then yeah, so can you tell me as far as like obviously I mean you've been doing this for forever as far as like turning metal merch into more awesome metal merch. But like what tell me a little bit about your favorite bands or what exactly, the subgenres that you tend to gravitate towards.
I'm kind of all over the place with subgenres, but some of my favorite
Same.
bands, I definitely am obsessed with Unleash the Archers. Like I can't even tell you how many of their band shirts I have because I have almost every design that they've put out. And there's some that I've made into stuff and other ones that are still in my like future projects pile. So they're definitely a favorite and they're like great power metal. Um, and then I saw that you did a video on Apex. So
Yeah, so I've
um,
recently kind of just I mean, I've known of Unleashed Archers for a while now, but I've recently just gotten into like actually just listening to a lot of their
the deep
discography.
dive.
And yeah, I love it. It's so and like Brittany Slays is just I think I love her a little bit too. Like she's so
Yeah, I
cool.
I feel like she gets compared to like, the other like kind of more symphonic metal singers like, Floor of Nightwish, but I'm like, I put her up there with like Bruce Dickinson and like
Yeah,
Dio. That's it. Stylistically, she's more that.
totally. Yeah, totally different like power metal style. But yeah, she is awesome and she's like such a nerd too. I'm just like, oh,
I know.
she's so great. But yeah, I love yeah, I'm starting to love them more and more the more I listen to them.
Yeah, and it's funny because they're one of my favorite bands, but then on the other hand, I absolutely love Cattle Decapitation. I'm from San Diego originally, and
Nice.
so I kind of grew up with them as like the little local grindcore band. And all of a sudden, I checked out Death Atlas, and I hadn't listened to them in a few years, and I was like, "Whoa, this is like the sickest death metal album that I've heard in like probably a decade." So I like the more extreme metal bands like that. I definitely love Arch Enemy. So I love me some Mellow Death.
Yeah.
And I discovered this band on Discord. I'm in Dean Lamb of Archspire's Discord, and somebody just dropped like, "Oh, here's like my vocal playthrough," and it was this guy from the band called Summoning the Lich, and they are fantastic. Like everything about them, they're one of my favorites. I listen to their album at least once a week.
Wow.
So those are probably some of my top favorites, but yeah, I definitely am all over the place with genres. I'll go from like punk and I even like some pop stuff. You give me some old Lady
Yeah.
Gaga and I'm a metalhead, but I still love everything.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm definitely in the same vein too. It's like most of the subgenres. There's things I like about each of them, and then yeah, some pop music as well. And I think Lady Gaga too is like, for some reason, like metalheads just like her. I think I don't know why, but like that woman is talented,
Mhm.
and she's a little bit of a weirdo too. I think is one of the things too. Is like we're all like
Yeah.
really weird, and we're like, oh, she's one of our people.
Yep.
Definitely. Awesome. So, and like, how did you get into metal? Is that just something you've always listened to, or was there like a progression of heavier and heavier music?
So my parents were like definitely hippies. So I was brought up on like stuff like the Rolling Stones, Black Sabbath. I think like Aerosmith in the 90s was one of the first CDs in my house. So kind of some precursors to metal and some stuff that was kind of metal. Like I have a Judas Priest vinyl that my dad gave me, Screaming for
Nice.
Vengeance. That's really old. But they weren't into super heavy stuff. And when I was in middle school, I remember discovering new metal on MTV. I saw like Orgy and Corn and Limp Bizkit, and so cringy, but oh, I loved Limp Bizkit when I'm 37, so that hit when I was like, a cringy little preteen, and I got super into that. And then that was like in the Napster days. So, then I'm in a bunch of like little AOL chat rooms, like being a little edge lord and making fun of the people that like boy bands, even though 2 years ago, I was listening to Britney Spears. Um, so I was in there doing that, and then people would be like, Limp Bizkit or Corn, and they're like, no, you got to listen to Cannibal Corpse. So I'm like clicking away on Napster, and I'm like, whoa, that is heavy, and I love it. My first concert was actually Slipknot before they hit it big and did their big Ozfest versus
Oh
not
shit.
or their big sorry, I said Ozfest versus not fest. I was thinking of recent, but it was before they hit their first like Ozfest tour and really blew up. Some boy at my school gave me a CD and he's like, you got to listen to this. And it was Slipknot self-titled. And then a couple weeks later, he's like, did you like it? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, you want to go see him? And we went and saw him. The power kept
What?
going out because it was at this tiny little hole in the wall venue. And
Wow.
Corey Taylor had promised that he was going to give us a free concert when he came back to San Diego, but they blew up. And I think he forgot all about that.
That is
No,
amazing.
no hate to him though for that. Like, I wouldn't expect him to remember like one little gig in after exploding like that on the scene.
Man, that is crazy. You were probably like one of like very few people who saw them before they got huge. That's crazy.
Yeah, they still had a wild stage show. Like, they were just getting into brawls on stage and stuff. And it was my first time ever going to a concert. So I was like, is this what it always is like?
Is this normal? That's crazy. That's all. Yeah, I know. I saw Slipknot for the first time last summer, no, last fall. But yeah, they brought the house down. I mean, it was a festival, so it was
Every
outside,
time.
but still, it was insane. Yeah, it was great. Anyway, so I saw on like one of your shorts that you put on your YouTube channel that like of your screaming, your like death metal growls, and
Yeah.
they are sick. And
Thank
I
you.
saw that I noticed that you said you were taking lessons from Cardivox Academy,
Yeah.
which is someone I follow, and like I'm on their like Facebook page, and what is his name? I forget his name. The
Mark.
Mark, yeah, he is so cool. And so yeah, I was curious a little bit about your experience with Cardivox.
Oh, I can say nothing but great things about Mark. He is an awesome teacher. Like, I kind of always thought that like singing and screaming was something that people were just naturally good at, when I was younger. And then when I started watching his content, I was like, oh, maybe I could learn how to scream. I played bass here and there, but I never really picked it up passionately, just kind of noodled around a bit with it. And I've always secretly wanted to be like a front woman in a band. So I started trying to scream on my own and I sounded like 2020 Chris Barnes. It was so bad. And I heard a recording of myself for the first time
Oh,
because my fiance and I were trying to like jam along and listening back to it. We both looked at each other and we both knew it was bad. And then he was like, I'm sorry, I got to say it. You sound like Chris Barnes. And I cried legit. And then he felt bad. And I was like, no, you didn't have to say it. I heard it. I took lessons with Mark and started working on my fry scream. And then after we got that down really good, started working on false chord. And false chord probably took me like 3 months and probably about like 5 lessons to understand the concept
wow.
of it. But if anybody can do it, like if you just get the techniques down and you practice all the time. And it has just been a really fun journey. I'm really having a great time with it. Actually in the process of getting together my first vocal cover that I'm gonna put on YouTube.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. And like I see it's crazy because some people I feel like usually either gravitate towards like false chord or fry. And like for me, I literally cannot figure out how to fry. I can't, it just comes out as a whisper. I don't know. So it's interesting to hear you be like the exact opposite of that.
Yeah. The fry was more natural for me. And I feel like most people I talk to that do the harsh vocals, it's one comes more naturally than the other. But I like having
Mm,
both tools in my toolbox because I feel like they both have different strengths and weaknesses that you can do vocally with them. So I like having the ability to do both.
absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. And then, is there one though that you like even like now do you like tend to use more often than the other?
I feel like false chord is easier when I'm not like as warmed up, or if I feel like I haven't gotten enough rest or drank enough water, or like I notice that sometimes like drinking too much alcohol can like affect my ability to do the fry. And I think that's because it works a little bit more with your vocal cords and your voice. And so false chord, I'm like, oh, well, if I take most of the voice out of it, then it's a little bit easier to do. But I like things about the fry, like that you can let out a scream for like, over a minute,
Forever.
with good breath control with
Yeah.
fry, but not with a false. So I guess it just kind of depends upon how I'm feeling in the morning. Cause I always scream on my 20-minute drive to work in my car back and forth. So when I'm kind of like warming up, when I'm first starting to drive, then I'll be like, I'm feeling like today's more of a Friday or more of a false chord day.
Awesome. Awesome. And what so where like well, I don't know if you want to like spoil it, but where are you leaning more towards as your first vocal cover?
I would say for this first one, I'm mostly doing fry screams because it's a Cradle of Filth cover, and
Okay.
my highs are definitely a lot better with the fry scream. But I did layer in some false chords for like a few words where in the original there's a lot of layered vocals and there's a little bit more of that deep emphasis in it. So but yeah, predominantly fry in that one because
Okay.
I was really working on those like screechy pterodactyl whistle screams that you
Yeah,
guys.
I mean Cradle of Filth, that is like as far as like a vocal cover, like that's probably one of the like I would assume the hardest ones.
I feel
Like
like everything has its hard points and its easy points. So I mostly figured out doing that because I had already learned how to do the fry, and I watched one of Mark's videos where he's reacting to Cradle of Filth, and he gave a few pointers on getting those really high tones, and I played around with it, and I was like, oh, I got the Danny Filth screech. And I
ah,
told my fiance, I was like, all right, I know some of their songs, so we're gonna have to do a cover.
that's awesome. And yeah, that's amazing because I mean the Danny Field scream is so iconic and like I feel like so many people have tried and failed. So maybe that's a part of I don't know, is like having that more upper register maybe as far as like being a female maybe gives you some advantage there possibly.
I think so because like you usually tend to have a higher voice, and kind of like behind the distortion of it is pretty much making the most annoying high pitched noise you can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think maybe it might have something to do with it.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing your YouTube channel? When did you start that?
Well, originally I have like one really old video that's probably from like, I don't know, like 2014 or something. But
Mhm.
I think probably over the last like 2 to 3 years is when I actually started consistently putting videos out. The first one that I did is like super low res. I like recorded on a laptop, and like the lighting is terrible, the audio is terrible, but I just kept it on there because I was like, oh, well, maybe somebody will look at it and be like, oh, well, you can start somewhere. You don't need an expensive mic and a fancy camera right off the bat. Just start practicing and start doing it. How long have you had your channel?
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, yeah, I think I started in 2019.
Yeah.
And my first videos actually, most of my videos on my channel, even still, are like just awful. Like I don't think I even got a mic until like last year because I was just cheap and I didn't feel like it. But yeah, it's funny because to watch some of like some people's like YouTube like first videos, they're all just terrible. Like I'm eating ravioli in one of my first videos. Like I don't know why I'm talking and eating at the same time. Um, but yeah, do you like it's been a fun journey. I mean, like YouTube's such an interesting place because you get to meet so many cool people and then so many shitty people at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Comment
yeah, I don't
section is
know, yeah,
always
how
fun.
much shit posting you have to put up with. Is it a lot or how does that go for you?
When I was doing mostly just the sewing videos, not too much. Like a thumbs down here and there, or somebody like leaving a comment because they didn't like the band or something on my vest or whatever. But since I started doing the vocals, yeah, there's a little bit more of the snarky comments. But
Yeah.
it's at this point it's not too bad. But it's always one of those things. The more you grow, the more trolls find your page. So
Yeah, absolutely. And like for your Instagram, I think your Instagram is pretty big too, as far as like I feel like a lot of people are on there following everything.
yeah, I definitely have been working on my following. I feel like one of the best things that helped me grow, like more than like hashtags or what kind of content I started posting on there, was interacting with people more. Like, so I started following a bunch of other people that were like doing the band t-shirts like I do, or making heavy metal themed clothing. And I just started like always like commenting on their posts and, kind of hyping them up, telling them I liked what they were doing. And I did 2 videos that were like past the sewing scissors on my
Yeah,
YouTube
watch those.
channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those were like a nice way to plug like all the people that I was interacting with that are trying to do the same thing that I do. So that was like a nice way to kind of grow a community, and they really reciprocate what I put out there too. A lot of them are always the ones that are sharing my posts and commenting on it, and we talk band t-shirts and what concerts are coming up and stuff like that. And I get super excited whenever I see any of them get to like design for like a big like rock star or something. I'm like, you're doing it. That's awesome. I can't wait to be there too.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I would assume that is the goal, maybe to, design for someone who's gonna hit the stage wearing what you've created.
Absolutely. What I've gotten so far is I've had two bands. One, the artist that was wearing my piece in their music video is no longer with the band, but it was a band called Love Sick Drug. And she was wearing one of my tops in their music video while she was playing drums, and that was super cool. And then the other one is I recently designed a piece of stage wear for the singer from Sun Singer, and I've seen a couple of photography shoots she's done with it, and I'm waiting to see some live photos because she said she wants to wear it on stage.
That's amazing. I love that. And I feel like that's too, like, one of the things that, like, I don't know. I mean, like, obviously some men get to experience the whole like costuming of like stage performance, like Danny Phillips, for example,
Yeah, and then
obviously.
other guys are more jeans and t-shirt on
Yeah.
stage.
But as far as the women go, I mean, like, it depends on who you are, but a lot of the women tend to put more focus on the fashion and on the presentation as far as stage
Absolutely.
performance. Like, Alyssa White, like, her everything she wears is awesome, and like Maria Brink, like, just like, I don't know, there's so much more like production that goes into it. And like, I personally love when like a band puts on like a show, you know what I mean? Like, adapts some kind of like a stage alter ego and puts on some kind of like
Yeah.
show.
I don't remember the exact quote, but there was like a quote, I believe it's from like Lemmy, where it's like nobody wants to see like an ordinary person on stage. They want to see like someone who looks like they're from outer space. I don't remember the exact quote, so I'm probably paraphrasing it horribly wrong. But the idea was like, don't go out there and be ordinary. And I definitely think you're right. Like artists like Maria Brink and Elisa like really have that like otherworldly look on stage, or
Hmm.
even with some of the male artists like Rob Zombie, or like Danny Phil, artists like that definitely have the wild stage presence, and I'm here for that. I would love designing
Oh
for
yeah,
any of them.
absolutely. Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, I'm not into like fashion design or anything, but like I'm like into it. Like, I want to wear it all like, on a stage
Yeah,
for music I can't perform, but
I
I'm
mean,
down
you
to
can
wear
look
it.
that cool at concerts and everything too, or I mean, even if you're just going to the grocery store, who
Yeah,
cares?
why not? Yeah, exactly. I don't know, I live in the South. Technically, I live in Tennessee, so like, me just wearing like my battle vest around, like, sometimes I get some looks, but like, I'm kind of curious,
People
like, if
telling you need Jesus.
yes, actually not in person, but like on social media, I do get a lot of like links to like save my soul, which is so funny. I just have to laugh at them. It's great.
Oh yeah, those are hilarious.
I mean, I guess it's nice that you care, but also hilarious. I usually just send back something like, I don't know, hail Satan or something.
Yeah, you gotta make your little edge lord 15-year-old self feel proud.
Exactly. Edge Lord, I like that.
You gotta keep a little bit of your cringe, like as you get older. Don't let that part of your younger self die.
Yeah, I know. Some people are like, well, how old are you now? Like, I thought you would outgrow this by now. But I'm like, who wants to outgrow this? This is who I am.
I want to be in the nursing home with blue hair, being like, put on some soy.
Exactly. No, I'm like, people are like, oh, I'm so afraid to go gray. I'm like, I'm excited. Then I'll just dye it whatever color I want, not have to bleach it first.
That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. All right. So, before we run out of time here, tell me about some of your favorite concerts shows that you've been to.
Oh, so I recently saw Cattle Decapitation on the Death Atlas tour, Death at Last, because they kind of played on words with the album name. But that was an amazing live show. Like they sounded fantastic. Slipknot always brings it for sure. Definitely always a great show. And the one that I always like to throw in people's faces and makes them so jealous is when I was a teenager, my second ever concert was I saw Static X, Morbid Angel, Pantera, and Slayer in the same show. And there's so many musicians that we lost from like all of those bands. And it
Oh
was
man.
just a phenomenal concert. And one of my favorite memories from it, it was when, kind of like new metal wasn't cool. And with Morbid Angel, Slayer, and Pantera being on the bill, when Static X was opening, there was like this sea of boos happening. And I remember Wayne Static's stopping in between songs and he just casually looks out to the audience and he goes, "You can boo all you want. I'm partying with Slayer and Pantera after the show. What are you doing?" And no further boos from that point on. He immediately showed everybody in that sea of, old school metalheads like that he was cooler than them and
That's
deserved to be on
amazing.
that stage. So that was like a great concert memory.
Man, and Pantera, like, man, that I would give to see Pantera live. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I definitely lucked out that I got to go to that show.
Amazing. And are you do you where do you situate yourself ideally? You in the mosh pit? You like up against the rail, a little bit behind?
I mean, I guess it kind of depends. Like when I was younger, it was always, I want to be up front and I want to be in the pit. And then now that I'm a little bit older, it's like which band it is. Like there's somewhere I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna hurt the next day, but I'm gonna get in there. And then there are other ones like when I saw Opeth, I was like, no, I'm not getting up front. I'm not getting in the pit. I'm gonna sit where like the sound is best and I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna
Yeah.
watch.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, that's how I'm like Tool. It's like, where are the acoustics? Like where is it gonna
Yeah.
be best? But then yeah, there are other shows I'm like, I will wait 3 hours and be up front on the rail and be
Oh
extremely
yeah.
dehydrated because I haven't peed in like 12 hours, you know?
Yeah, because like if you see Slayer, you go to see Slayer, but honestly, the interaction in the crowd is almost more the Slayer show than what you see on stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, a band like um I'm trying to think. Like there's some bands where you want to watch and there's some bands where you want to experience.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And it's always, yeah, I mean, it's always an experience either way, but it's a different, yeah, different
Yeah, and
experience.
there's some where you know every lyric, so you want to be up
Hmm.
front. Like both times that I saw Unleash the Archers, I was like, I have to be up front because I know every word to these songs.
Exactly.
And the
I,
second time I saw him was post COVID, so I had a mask on, but I made a mask that said I'm singing all the lyrics under this mask, and I was doing all these hand gestures at Brittany, and you could tell she was like, "Oh, I can't see what you're singing, but I know you know the words."
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, no, my husband is definitely one. He's like, he likes the stadium shows because he likes to sit down. He's like, I don't want to
Mhm.
like stand for 6 hours. I'm like, yeah, neither do I, but like you get used to it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know, because then part of me is like, well, how are they going to know that I know all the lyrics unless I'm right there, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a give and take. It's a give and take. Um, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, doing this chat with me and just, chatting a little bit. It's awesome to see other awesome female metalheads around here.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks for having me.
yeah. Oh, I forgot one last question. As far as like we were talking about merch earlier, and I totally forgot to circle
Yeah.
back around to this, but like, feel like it used to be that like female merch was so hard to find. It was like only the like most wealthy bands had enough money to come out with like tank tops and stuff. But like, I feel like nowadays things are getting a little. They're getting there. I don't know what do you feel like the state of female band merch is these days?
I still feel like there's more to be desired. Like I found a few pieces where they made leggings and I'm like, every band should make leggings.
Yes.
I got some like activewear leggings that I just ordered some death ones from Pull the Plug patches. And then I missed out on a cattle decapitation pair on indie merch, and I literally regret that decision so much. And I have like a Cradle of Filth set. But yeah, I definitely feel like that is like an undersold item. And yeah,
Definitely.
but we are seeing more of like the baby doll tees where they have like the full album art and stuff like that. But yeah, make more bands.
Mm-hmm. And make more smalls too. Like if you always sell out of smalls, just order more smalls.
I try to
Like,
be thoughtful at the merch booth since I am gonna sew it into something. So I'll
yeah.
always tell the merch guy, he's like, "What size?" And I was like, "Well, what do you have the most of? Because I'm gonna cut it up and sew it. So
Mm.
just give me any size that you have the most of, so that way everybody else gets their size."
Oh, that is so considerate of you. And it's also too like I feel like in a lot of your videos you mentioned that you go to the band's like official merchandise to get, their merch so
Yeah.
that all the money goes to them. Which I mean a lot of people too, or I feel like metalheads know this more than regular people, but like most of the money that they make off their tour comes from merch, not necessarily tickets. So
Yeah.
I think that's awesome to support them that way. Because I feel like nowadays you do see a lot of weird stuff on Amazon. Like if you type in a band's name plus
Mm-hmm.
merch on Amazon, you get like weird, like I don't know, like hoodies, but you can tell they're like made in China and they're weird.
Yeah, and you know the band's not getting any of that money.
Yeah,
And if you're streaming their songs every day and they're only making pennies on it, the least you can do is like, buy a shirt that they're getting some money off of.
exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on this chat
Yeah.
with me. It was such an awesome time to talk to you. And yeah, feel free if we ever want to do this chat again. I'm sure people like seeing other women in metal, and I'm sure we'll get some shit posting too. So bring
Of
on
course.
the
Name
comments.
3 songs.
That's always my favorite because I mean, we can name 3 songs. We can name 3 albums.
Yeah, but
Um,
then, if you name 3 albums, then it's like, oh, well, do you know the singer's mother's maiden name?
do
Do you
you
even know
know?
what their dog's name is?
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
yeah, it was great having this chat, and I definitely love to have more in the future.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time, and thank you for Kristen coming on the show.
Thank you.